Welcome back, warriors.
Yay.
This is part 1 of our season 2 finale.
Wow.
What?
Wow. Lots of numbers there, but season 2.
Season motherfucking 2.
Yeah.
Time going.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. I mean, it feels like we were just talking about wrapping up our first season, which was like months and months ago. And now here we are. Another amazing season of wonderful episodes that you and I got to share, but more importantly, or even more specially, maybe that we were able to connect with so many amazing warriors that chose to talk to us about their stuff, about their anxiety, their mental health, their depression. We had people talking about OCD and ADHD and I mean, agoraphobia and just so many fascinating things that a lot of which I really didn't fully understand myself. I mean, I feel like we're always learning about these things, but
yeah,
at least in terms of their experience with it, it was just such a joy. It always was. It always is to hear from people what they're dealing with.
Yeah. And then like in different ways, hearing our own experience back to us, right? Yes. Like that was always really nice too. It's like, you know, we all share this journey, but we have these very individual experiences. And oftentimes we feel alone in them. And by hearing other people's stories, it just really resonated. It was so relatable. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I have intrusive thoughts too. Yeah. I need to check my door a million times, you know, like everything people shared, you know, just really just has like a very special place in my heart because it's their own story and their own journey. And yet there's just so much relatableness and shared experiences in it.
Yeah. Oh man. It's just, you know, when you and I were preparing to do this first half of our 2-part special, we were just reminding each other of like all the people that we spoke to this year. And when I was just looking through their names and taking a few moments, just looking at each name and remembering some of the highlights that have just been implanted into my brain, into my heart, into my soul from listening to them talk. And I just felt filled with so much warmth, remembering each of our conversations with, you know, even more diverse folks, even more backgrounds and people that we didn't know. And it made me smile too, because in our first season, you know, you and I really, really had no idea what we were doing. I mean, we still kind of don't, but right. No. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? We had so many of our like safe people in our lives, some friends, some community members, family for you, even like we just had so many wonderful people that were like feeling brave and helped to match our, you know, our bravery and stepping out in the podcast world, talking about mental health and anxiety and our shit. And just hearing from them was so special because I think we knew pretty well a lot of our first season guests.
Yes. Yeah.
If not
either I did or you did, or we both did.
Right. And so looking through this pile of folks, I was just like, just so warm and in awe of how many new people we got to meet. Like, yes, there were those that we knew, or I knew, you knew, or whatever, both of us, but there was also plenty of people that neither of us knew, that just found us through the podcast or through social media channels or through previous guests that were just like, hey, so-and-so that I know heard my episode with you all and they loved it so much and they have something to say, you know, and just how like that trickle down kind of happened. And I just, was filled with so much warmth just looking, and we spoke to a lot more men this year, which was so cool. And just getting that perspective. And
men that share that they go to therapy. Like that
and take meds and
yes, exactly. It's like our dream for this podcast, our goal, our vision, our hope, right? Whatever word we want to throw in there. I feel like really at its core is just like normalizing talking about mental health, right? Because it's still so stigmatized. And we had so many men sharing about their mental health journeys and really normalizing it's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to take meds. It's okay to ask for help. And when I
Right.
just said the ask for help part is where like I just gave myself chills, right?
Yeah.
Because it's still so hard. It's so hard to ask for help. And I'm sure in some ways it's harder for men,
Yeah.
right? We've talked a lot about gender with some of our guests as well. And yeah, it's just really incredible how many people were willing to share vulnerable stories around their mental health to just normalize talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just been continuing to be a really special part of my life. I think I can speak for both of us that we feel just truly loved and honored. And we hope that all of our warrior guests and all of you listeners feel that way too, that you're like on this ride with us,
Mm-hmm.
on this train of life. We're all kind of on it together. And yes, our experiences are different, but we're all here sharing space together.
Yeah.
And that helps us to feel less alone. And it's just been so fun and enlightening and empowering and all the ings.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So for this first half of our season 2 finale, we are going to be focusing on highlighting the amazing and inspiring and wonderful and all the ing responses from our guests when it came to the question of what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah.
And this is one of the questions that we asked to every one of our guests towards the end of our chats with them. And I think it's definitely responsible for at least 80% of all the full body chills and twinkles and
Yes.
sparkle and shine that we always feel or give out
Yes.
during
Tears in
each
the
episode.
eyes. Yes.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, editing this piece has been really, really I don't know what word I want, but really touching for me because first of all, this is, it's a vulnerable question. What advice would you give your younger self? But what's really touching for me is it's like, it's all advice I need now, right? Like it's
Yes,
all advice I always need. And so hearing the advice and hearing it put together in all these different voices, it's like, I don't know, it just really makes me pause and reflect and really try to integrate into my life the advice that they're offering themselves.
totally. It's one of those things where it's like, if I'm unloading a struggle or something I'm dealing with to a friend or a loved one, I don't necessarily want advice or feedback in that moment, certainly.
Right.
But it's like having all this free advice from
Yes.
all of our guests. And like you
Yes.
said, just so beautifully, it's like, yeah, all the advice that these people would give their younger selves are all the things that I think all of us warriors need right now. And we needed them when we were younger, and we still need them.
Right.
So it's just like the best way to just like fill up your cup and your pocket and your journal with all the best tips and
Yes.
tools and strategies for yourself to
Right.
implement right now. It's like if I'm thinking about what I would have wanted younger Margot to know, right? And what all of our guests would want for their younger selves. That means that was a hole that needed filling a long time ago, but
Yes.
there's no reason why we can't fill it now
Right.
and continue to keep filling it. It's just and just sort of overflow with all this yummy, good, and tangible
Right.
advice.
Right. Anytime like any mental health is having a hard time, myself, right? But just in general, like this advice is just such a good reminder. Like we're not alone in our experiences. And so many people said like it gets better. And it's like such an important thing to hold on to when we are having a struggle, when we are having a hard time. It doesn't mean we're always going to be in that. It doesn't mean we're always going to be in that place of suffering. It's like, oh yeah, all these people wanted to remind them younger selves. And even now it changes. It will get better. Right. And so it just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just so touching. And I just feel so grateful for all of the guests that came on to our show and shared their story. And we're just I mean, all of our guests have anxiety and they all came on our show and spoke about it. Like, thank you all for like just having the courage to share your story. It's a lot.
Yes. Beautifully said. Love, 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 love it. We cannot wait for you warriors to maybe connect with the first time with some of these amazing guests that we've had. If you happen to be new, welcome to this episode. Who knows?
Yeah.
or if you've been with us since the beginning of season 1 or season 2, and you're here at this first part of the finale with us right now, thank you for being here. And we cannot wait for you to hopefully feel all the ings, right?
Yes.
And as well, just connected and held and supported by all of these responses from our wonderful guests that we had in 2022. We are grateful for all of them. So without further ado, here's the show.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oh, I think you're not alone.
Mm.
I always felt so alone. I had 3 siblings, parents, like friends around me, but I was always alone. Like I just felt alone. Yeah. So I would say that, like, you're not alone. You're not the only one experiencing this. You're not crazy, and it's all going to work out better than you could have imagined.
Oh goodness, so many different things. But the first thing I would say is don't wait for a crisis to get help. You know, and that's what people think. Oh, I have to wait for a problem or a crisis to get help. You don't. There doesn't even have to be anything like wrong for you to see a therapist, right? That's another kind of stigma that, oh, you know, you lost your job, or you lost a loved one, or you had like a chronic disease that is affecting your life and it's affecting you mentally. No, go when it's sunny. Go when your life is sunny, you know, because now you're equipped to handle when the hard stuff does come. And that's why I said, if I could go back to 2017 in general, like, dude, you have this stuff right in front of you. Just make the call, make the appointment, and go. You know, but I didn't. So the other 2 things I would say is perfectionism. Dude, like, nobody cares if you're perfect or not. You're the only one that cares. And to stop externalizing your worth, because there's a difference between having a drive to be excellent and being obsessed with I don't want to say winning, but trying to create this perfect image of yourself. There's a difference. You can be diligent, you can work hard, you can be great at whatever it is you want to do or be, but when it spills over to the area of becoming neglectful of yourself and even those around you, because that's what's going to be the fallout afterwards, then that's when you have a problem. Yeah. So, and that I went through periods of that, you know, grad school, undergrad especially, but grad school, oh my gosh, like, just I look back now and I'm like, I don't know how I pushed myself to those limits. Right. You know, it's looking back, it kind of makes me sad, because it's like, wow, like you're never going to get that time back either. You know, that time is gone, and the people who were in your life that, you know, were affected by it can't get the time back.
I would offer her the encouragement to get to know herself. I think that so much of what I did, like I shared earlier, was to distract, because it didn't feel safe to get to know like who I was. And I think that, I don't want to say I wasted a lot of time, but I spent a lot of time, the word I like to use is floundering. I spent a lot of time just trying to figure stuff out, not being happy. That's a very big part of my story. Going through the motions, feeling like I was in another episode of Groundhog Day. Yeah. And, you know, on paper, nothing looked wrong, but I knew, like, in my head, my heart, like, nothing really felt right. And now that I know what I know, I very much think that it is due to the fact that I was so scared to learn who I was, because I was afraid that I'm going to start crying. I was afraid that person wasn't lovable. Yeah. And so, thank you. And that you are lovable, whoever is listening. Like, you are worthy of love. You're worthy of amazing things. And that is, some shit that I would tell younger Jonna.
I think start on this journey of understanding a lot earlier. I guess when I was younger, like I said, the first 30 years, I avoided wanting to know about it. I avoided wanting to think about it. I avoided wanting to talk about it. Everything got brushed under the carpet. Like, everything was hidden away in a drawer, pushed backwards. I didn't ever say to anybody, I'm feeling a bit anxious right now, because I don't think I knew that was a thing. But yeah, so for me, if I could just go back and hold my hand as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, I'll just say, look, just talk to someone, ask for help, tell people how you're feeling, even if it's just, one person that you can confide in. Start sooner, start having a conversation, start talking about it, because, it will get better, but not if you try and do it all alone, I think is the key.
I would say just be true to yourself and just definitely be you, because I feel like full circle, like that's where you end up coming back to as you get older.
I would say talk less, listen more. I'm a bit of a talker, and sometimes if I think if I listened or I just waited a little bit, that's another one of my goals, is like wait time and like meetings and things. Like, you don't got to be the first to say something, like just kind of, people probably feel the same way, just wait. So I would definitely say just kind of just kick it back, think about your words. You don't have to comment on everything, listen, because then you probably don't have to talk as much. And you want people to be heard. So that's something that I'm working on for the last probably 4 years. We're getting there. It's getting better. And then the other thing that I would probably tell a younger me is like, what you're looking for, you're not going to find in a bar. That would be my other one.
What's funny is I was just thinking about this. My answer to this question has been the same for a few years, and it's interesting to me that it's the same for a different reason. It's do what you want, not what you love, not what you're good at. I think there's a difference. Do what you love, not what you're good at. And again, it goes back to my answer to that last question. We spend so much time just doing what we're good at. We get validation, we do that, whatever, but it's not always the thing that really brings that deep down joy.
So good.
It's awesome if they're the same thing, but they're not always the same thing.
Right.
They can become the same thing. The more you do what you love, you will become better at it.
That's true.
It's really lined up with what we just talked about. It would be to remind myself that what makes me really special is my own unique life path, and that the concept of needing my life to look like my peers' lives from a career standpoint or from a relationship standpoint or whatever, that's like a great way to experience suffering, by feeling like it needs to look like my peers' lives. And that if I'm able to every step of the way just really celebrate my own journey and my own path, because it's what makes me uniquely me, there's so much joy to be had in every single moment. But that's something that I've really struggled with over the years. Growing up in an affluent part of Los Angeles with, successful parents and with peers who, successful parents, this path that we've been on has been one of expectations around financial success, powerful jobs and roles. So when I made the choice to move out of the entertainment world as I knew it, like leaving the record label, and to start to explore group meditations, I had a lot of trouble around just embracing the fact that I was following something that I felt was serving a need, and that really felt fulfilling and gratifying to me. And a lot of times my comparison to others' paths took away the ability for me to just enjoy the unique thing that I was doing. So to be able to hold me down and find ways to help younger me understand that my own path, my unique path, and the differences within my path are what make me uniquely, beautifully, and perfectly me, and to find ways to celebrate that. I think it would have, if I was able to actually embody that, I think it could have helped with a lot of pain along the journey.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But I still struggle with that. So, that's advice that I could give younger me, and then I could give current Jesse too.
I'll take that advice too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the best kind of advice that lives in the past, or would have been great, but also serves us now.
Yeah, this was really a tough question for me. And what I've landed on is your voice and experiences are valid and matter. And I think because I didn't have an outlet to voice anything or really explore my own feelings around things, knowing that I can do that whenever I want and connect whenever I want seems really powerful and dangerous and shape-shifting. I mean, maybe that's just too much wisdom to have this mindset of like a kid who didn't have that. So I'm like thinking like if I was told that by myself, I would be like, what happened to you? Right? Like, what is happening? We messed up somewhere. We're part of the percentage of the people that laughed, aren't we? Like it was really hard for me to be like, what would not rock my world too much, but also create a powerful enough change.
So weirdly enough, I wouldn't say anything because as much as everything sucked, and I mean it sucked big time, all that has really made me who I am today. I know it sounds cliche to say, like, wow, everything I've experienced has made me the man I am today. But it's really like because I was teased so much, because I was bullied so much, because I watched how people, act around their girlfriends, it affected how I wanted to be a husband and the husband I am today. When I see how mean people were to me and I see the things that like where I didn't have support and all that has changed how I'm a father to my son. And it's just made me, I think, a better person, a better friend to my friends, a better husband, a better father, a better dog owner, even too. I have a lot of patience for that wild and crazy dog. It gets pushed sometimes, but a lot of patience for him. And so, like, I don't know if I would give young Drew any advice or say anything to him. I think I would just stand like in the bleachers and cheer my younger self on and say, hey, man, I'm going to watch this happen and it's going to hurt to watch, but I know you're going to get through it. I think I might have done was maybe instead of go to the beach, go to Taco Bell with Adam first. But other than that, I mean, I don't, as much as it all stinks, I don't think I would tell myself to do anything different because I'm at such a good place now that I don't know if I'd be the person I am today without through all that. So I really would here's advice for anyone who might be listening that might have some of those same feelings and doesn't know what to do. Cheer yourself on. Guarantee if you stick it through, there is a light at the end of the tunnel and it gets great and you're going to be an awesome person for surviving it because you're going to learn how to treat others based on how you don't want to be treated.
Oh, I love this question. I would absolutely let myself know that there are safe people to have conversations with. And I had a lot of those, I had a very loving friend group. I had a very loving family. I had very understanding people in my life. We just never spoke about anything that was going on. And I went through some really, really, really heavy stuff, like really heavy stuff with my dad. And I would absolutely just want myself to know that it's okay to be vulnerable and that in any way, shape, or form does not reflect upon you as being weak. That you don't have to have everything right, that you don't have to be the people pleaser and the fixer. And this is stuff that I'm all still working on now, right? I think that's why it's so hard for me to hear hateful comments because the majority of my life I've been such a people pleaser. So it's difficult to turn that off because it feels as though it's a reflection upon myself and who I am as a person. But yeah, I would just want to be easy with myself and know that it was okay to do so.
Oh my God, so much. Where to start? I think just being able to tell my parents the way that I felt because it's not like they were super strict. They were very loving, but I guess they would teach maybe unconscious that toughness. But I think I could have always just said, Father, I'm feeling, I don't know, this is making me too anxious or this is making me emotional. I need to cry or whatever, stuff like that. I guess I never did because I needed to toughen up.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had to. I think in my family was safe enough. And I think a lot of people maybe undervalue that, or they don't realize that, at the end of the day, most likely your family is going to be on your side, and then they want to try to understand you, and they're not going to just kick you off the house.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I would definitely do.
Yeah.
The first thing I would say is the things that you're worrying about, they will pass. They're not as big as you thought they were. I wish she would feel comfortable and open to just share her feelings. That's what I want. I want her to share her feelings more. If it wasn't even with her family, just like a close friend, just let it all out. Like there's no need to hide. And I just wish she had those tools. But I'm so happy that I have them now to like break the cycle with my children. And then I'm sure there's things that they're going to need to work through still, that they need to break the cycle from whatever I've done, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
We're all learning, and the more we can break the cycle, the better it will be in the end.
Yes.
It's easy to like kind of go to the cop out of like, don't do drugs, don't date this person, don't do that. Like I would definitely tell myself, don't get high, but go back and let's say, like I did put some thought into this question, but it was like, don't rush through life. Don't be in a hurry to get somewhere fast. Don't be looking for the next best thing always. Take time, slow down your pace, slow your roll. And you're going to learn your lessons. You've got some lessons to learn, and you're going to find out real quick how serious those lessons are in the next few years, kid. But like, I wouldn't trade my journey that I've been on for the last 22 years for the world. So I would tell my younger self not to do anything different, because it's going to be a beautiful journey. Now, am I saying go out there and do IV drugs or do the serious narcotics that I got into and you can have the life that I have today? No, that's just the way my story shook out, because most people could do the same stuff that I was doing and not come back.
Right.
So don't follow in my footsteps, but I'm saying follow in my footsteps, because you'll have a greater appreciation for what you have by the time you're my age.
Advice that I would give, you know what? I think that it would be to listen to my body and to advocate for myself, and to know that your feelings are valid. Like, I would love to tell every little girl, every little boy that your feelings are valid. It's really, really hard as a mom when you have my spicy baby, like she can push buttons and she's really, really like, I call it full of life. She's really full of life. And sometimes I'm having to unlearn that, that whole, you're not like, it's okay. You're okay, and your feelings are valid. And so are mine. I need you, like trying to like let her know. So yeah, I want every child to know that your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't necessarily mean that everything will go your way and that you can change every situation, but to take a moment to notice how you feel and take a moment to notice that how that affects you and know that it's real. And then you can move on to the next step, whatever that may be.
It's going to take time, because everything you want overnight. I was also lucky enough. I started speaking. I was getting $2,000 here, $2,000 here, using my network for an hour of my time. I'm like, if this is happening now, I don't need to do free gigs anymore. I'm already on the moon. And meanwhile, if I had done maybe even 5 or 10 more engagements for free, just got my name out in the community, it would have gone from 10 to 20 so much quicker. But you live and you learn, you go through all these trials and tribulations, not only as a business owner, but as a person. And through traumatic brain injury recovery, you know, a lot's changed. Still the same person, I feel, but I just have this whole new outlook on life, and many don't really see it. I appreciate life in a different way. I don't waste time doing things I don't want to do. I very just focused on what I'm here for. And right now I've learned that my purpose is most likely helping others feel more comfortable speaking about their mental health, more comfortable on their own business journey, and overall just more confident in life that, hey, I'm still breathing. I got this. I may have to make some changes. I may have to figure out how to do it differently. But if I give myself the confidence, I can do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot, depending on what age I am. I would say it's interesting that you asked that, because as a teacher, I try to say those things to my students that I would have wanted to hear. You are enough. I would say, you know, there's a lot of pressure on you, whether you put it on yourself or your parents are putting it on you. And at the end of the day, none of that matters, because you are worthy just because you're a human being. And every human being deserves love, and every human being is cared about by someone, even if that person isn't in your life right now. And even if you feel like life isn't worth living at the moment, like, you will find a way that you will make a difference someday.
I've been thinking about this, and this is my reaction anytime people ask me a question like this, because it's so hard for me to see things this way. So what I'm going to say is that I don't know if I would. I think if anything, I might, like, if I was standing in front of my younger self, I might just give them a certain kind of look. That's just like, I get you. And the reason I say that is because I try to accept who I am. And I try to accept this path, because I found that, you know, I mean, you resist things and you suffer. Particularly when it comes to stuff that you can't do shit about. So I think I would probably just try to appreciate this person. And, you know, if anything, yeah, maybe I would tell them, like, I understand you, or I get you. But yeah, I would kind of do the Back to the Future thing and not meddle too much, because it's like, you don't want to mess up the time continuum.
Yes.
That you are worthy of it. In so many different chapters, the it means different things. Like, I'm worthy of my voice being heard. I'm worthy of someone loving me. I'm worthy of being good at my job and knowing that I am, because I love it so much. And like, I'm worthy of celebrating the gains that I've made, and the lessons that I've learned from my mistakes. Because for a very long time, I didn't feel that way. And I also think that kind of ruined a lot of relationships along the way, because I just didn't handle them appropriately. So yeah, I mean, knowing that I'm worthy has enabled me to set healthy boundaries as well in my adult life.
But I think more for like the young adult me is to just go and get help, go and talk to a doctor. Because at that point, you kind of start understanding the world a bit. I mean, it wasn't until my late 20s that I could start to go, okay, I need help, but not until my late 30s that I can actually really understand my position within the world and how the world is influencing me. And that's come from my social work degree, really, is being able to look at that type of stuff. So I think it's just at some point in your life is just to notice that it's whatever's happening inside, it's okay to talk about things. It's okay to be on meds. So medication was something that held me back for a couple of years before I went and saw that doctor. because I saw it as a taboo thing. I saw that as a stigma thing. I didn't want to go and talk about mental health because I didn't want to be on medication.
Yeah.
And it held me back. But then I kind of got over that eventually. And I've been on medication pretty much the last 10 years. There was a period where I could come off because things are really good. And I'm like, awesome, I'm on top of this. But then there was a period after that where I'm like, no, I need to go back and get stuff again because things are derailing. So I think they're the two things is, get help, talk about it. It's okay. But medication is not the end of the world if you do need to go on medication. But at the same time, there's other things as well you can do, not just medication, like self-care, activity, exercise and nutrition and sleep are huge three that we often that are often falling out the window when we live with mental illness. So if you can get those right initially, you might not even need to go and see a doctor and get on meds because there could be three things, and the alcohol as well. How much you're drinking? So
I would say it's okay and that you're not alone. That your insecurities and your fears are so okay and so normal, and you don't have to hide and you don't have to be fearful and be embarrassed. Like, I wish I would have known those things, that I can be myself. I can say what I want. I can be goofy. I can be silly. I can be awkward, and that's all okay. Like, I just so badly wish that little girl knew that, and she didn't. Like, she really didn't.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. And just learning, and being in the mental health field and meeting other people like you guys, or it's like, I hear my story over and over and over again. And it's like, it's such a validation that like, I'm not alone and that this thing it's kind of part of the human experience, and it's not something to be ashamed of. So I was just very ashamed, and I wish I would have known there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, what you're experiencing is not necessarily normal per se, but it's so relatable, and a lot of people struggle with it.
Oh my gosh, Abby. Like, I'm just once again left nearly speechless, but not speechless because here I am still talking. But oh man, I'm just filled up. I'm just filled up. It's just the best. Rehearing these answers did just what I thought it would do, which is just remind me of the goodness in the world and fill me with love and cover me with chills and all the good thoughts and hopes for my own self as I continue on in my anxiety warrior journey. Just so grateful.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It reminds you of all the good in the world. And, all the parents that we had that were guests on our podcast shared how like they want to break the cycle for their kids. They want to give their kids the tools that they didn't have. And so I just think, there's a lot of hope for the people right now and for the future generations as we continue to try to break the cycle and the stigma of shame in the mental health world. And we all just start to normalize what it means to be human.
It's well said. Yeah. I just, thank you, warriors. Thank you for being guests. I know hopefully all of our guests that were part of this first half of our special here were listening to their voices and their fellow warrior guest voices from this year. And thank you all so much for sharing your stuff here with us on the podcast and with the world at large. And we just love you so much. We love you so much, warriors. We feel very privileged to be able to talk to each other, to be able to talk to so many of you about this stuff. And we feel held by the community that we have over on Instagram. If you'd like to join our Instagram fam, you can at Anxiety Warriors Podcast. You can also send us an email at anxietywarriorspodcast@gmail.com. Here we are about to launch into a new year, 2023, and we are looking for some new warrior guests to join our podcast fam. So if that's you, please reach out on Instagram or via email, and let's get your story up on the calendar. We'd love to hear from you. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of our episodes are uploaded for you all over there. And please take 2 seconds and smash that 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning in right now. Maybe all of those places. And finally, hop into our show notes and grab yourself some podcast merch, support our show in style. You can get some awesome designs that we have up there on our Threadless shop, and they come on literally almost anything you could think of, just like yoga mats and towels and certainly all the clothes, right? Tank tops, hoodies, long sleeve tees, t-shirts, all those good things, coffee mugs, whatever your heart desires, grab your anxiety warrior swag to show off your status.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let them know you're part of the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, warriors. Well, we love you so much. Next week, we are going to be diving into part 2 of our season 2 finale, which is going to be all of our wonderful guests that you heard from today. But this time they'll be sharing what anxiety warrior means to them. Yeah. And this is, I mean, I want to say I love them both equally, but I feel like I love that one even more, if I can say. I love them both. I love both these questions so much that we ask all of our guests, and I'm sure I'm going to regret saying this right now, but I feel like I super love hearing the way people would define this phrase. So we hope you all will tune in next week.
It's amazing. So yes, you will not want to miss it. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for going on this journey with us. We are just so grateful that we get to do this with all of our listeners and all of our guests and each other. So thank you all.
Till next time.